Radiant team ban. Dire team pick.
Gyrocopter!
Radiant team pick.
Shaker.
Radiant team pick.
Hello and welcome to the joinDOTA League season number 7 here on Hefla TV 1. Big shout out to Dota 2 Lounge for putting this game up and others from the joinDOTA League, so go ahead and support them, play some bets and win some rares. We'll go into this 2-game series between Arcanys Gaming and Mahameru. I'm Grandis V. I'll be your caster today. Unfortunately, solo. The other casters from Hefla TV, Mike Loris and Danley, are over on the Hitbox European Championship. So you can go ahead and check out Mike Loris and Danley over there. But for now, we have some Southeast Asian Dota to work with. And the draft is going to start off in a very familiar fashion. Bounty Hunter Darkseer banned out by Arcanys, Leshrac Undying taken out by Mahameru, and then Gyrocopter first pick followed by Earthshaker Queen of Pain. No big surprises here, and I doubt we're going to see any big surprises for quite some time, but as far as these teams are concerned, I don't have a huge amount of information about Mahameru. Some of the names are very familiar from stand-ins from other teams, but for now it looks like they're running with mostly stand-ins themselves, so can throw in an X factor there as far as Arcanys is concerned. They're a lot more reliable as far as the roster is concerned, and a little bit more familiar to me. Winter Wyvern will follow up the Gyrocopter, a combination in and of themselves, very deadly inside the mid-game teamfights, with just a Winter's Curse and the call-down AoE damage that Gyrocopter offers, and in the laning stage, very dangerous for your common offlaners to deal with. The Arctic Burn plus Rocket Barrage combination can very easily catch up kills on a lot of your melee offlaners that are still left inside the pool. Well, as this was a little bit of a short notice series, I'm not super prepared for it, but we'll just go ahead and roll with it. There really isn't very much that either of these teams have shown with these first couple picks, a defensive sword and a core apiece, but the actual direction of their drafts is not really shown. Tusk ban coming out from Arcanys, no big surprises there, and I'd suspect that Mahameru will go ahead and ban out the Clockwork here. They already have the Earthshaker on their team, and the Clockwork would be picked up on the Dire side. Dire Clockwork can very easily abuse the lane equilibrium, can get a lot out of the early laning stage, and if isolating the Earthshaker can very easily start fights on the right foot for Arcanys in general would be a very scary pick. But instead they're going to ban out the Storm Spirit, despite it being a very good lane matchup for the Queen of Pain. Is a hero that a lot of teams are comfortable with running, and it's very annoying to play against. This is that long range initiation akin to the Clockwork, but since it hasn't been banned out, I'd expect Clock to be picked up by Arcanys. As far as the picks for Mahameru themselves, even though it's not going to be played as a core position, or at least most likely it wouldn't be, Lina could still be pretty good, as having a support with a lot of damage to follow up after the Earthshaker initiation from Fissure could be really nice, and also is good for eating through that cold embrace. Winter Wyvern won't be able to reliably save people against that raw amount of burst damage coming out from the Queen of Pain and Lina combined, and there you go, that's going to be the pick for Mahameru. There still is always the option, they throw the Queen of Pain into the offlane, and Lina still gets some core amount of farm, but even played as support can still contribute a lot to the team. Then Arcanys will go ahead and pick up the Clock. Clockwork is great against Lina and Earthshaker, both defensively. Against the Clockwork, they don't have very much to help out any allies that get caught out inside those cogs, unless an early Force Staff comes out, which it very well might, although it's going to be pretty heavily delayed. Lina and Earthshaker aren't going to be getting that much space this game. As far as the next pick for Mahameru, it's really just up to them. Arcanys' first 3 picks are so well-rounded that there's no real weakness. Maybe a lack of lockdown or a lack of consistent lockdown, as it is very ultimate reliant coming up from them, but actually Mahameru are going to pick up the Shadow Fiend here. Very interesting. Shadow Fiend and Queen of Pain can function as cores on the same team, although it is pretty rare. Usually they'd rather have the mid lane to themselves. But this game looks like Shadow Fiend mid, safe lane Queen of Pain is going to be the order of business. Very mobile core, the Queen of Pain, and when played in that role can get a scary amount of farm, and I think it's a reasonable way for Mahameru to go about this, and also works as somewhat of a die pick. Shadow Fiend on the dire side is a little bit weaker, but still viable, and might have been something on Arcanys' radar.
Reserve time.
I think Arcanys might like something along the lines of a Skywrath Mage as their next pick. That instant silence could be really good against the Queen of Pain, but instead they'll snag up the Wind Ranger. One of the few heroes left in the pool that has a good lane matchup against the Queen of Pain and Shadow Fiend both. Just with their damage can very easily trade hits with the Queen of Pain and nukes out waves at a similar speed. She might struggle a little bit against the Shadow Fiend as levels start picking up for him, but if Wind Ranger catches off a good shackle and you have a 5th pick support that can rotate in and put some pressure, can be very annoying for the SF. And even in the early laning stage, if you start things off with just a Winter Wyvern blowing an Arctic Burn into Shadow Fiend's face, things can get very interesting in that lane. Wind Ranger can get a very early head start. Across the board, this draft is looking pretty even. I don't see any major weaknesses. The heroes on both sides are very versatile and can be played in a plethora of different ways. Well then, last bans coming out from either side. I think that Skywrath Mage wouldn't be a bad ban coming out from Mahameru, but maybe there's something else that they're a little bit more afraid of. I like the Skywrath for Arcanys since it combos so nicely with the Clockwork for them, but they'll ban out the Witch Doctor. Fair enough, both Witch Doctor and the Skywrath could have done for Arcanys' 5th, but as far as the ban against Mahameru, that's going to be a little bit more interesting. The traditional offlaners, or at least offlaners this patch, are mostly banned out, so
10 seconds.
yeah, we'll just have to wait and see what Mahameru are going to favor this game around. It's actually going to be a Phantom Lancer ban, expecting the Queen of Pain to be going to the offlane role. Not sure if I would have liked the Phantom Lancer 5th pick coming up from Mahameru. It kind of feels like they would want a more reliable initiator. They're not lacking damage or carry by any means. Between the Queen of Pain and Shadow Fiend, even against a Gyrocopter, can feel fairly comfortable this game. If they run the Earthshaker in the offlane, they still could pick up another support. Rubik might not be terrible this game. Good defensively against the Clockwork. Plenty of good spells to steal at their disposal. But they also have a lot of time to think about it, so it's really just up to Mahameru. There are so many different ways that they could lane this, however, so it's really hard to speculate what this pick is actually going to be.
Spirit Breaker.
And it's going to be a Spirit Breaker. Nice aggressive hero that can roam into the mid lane and secure Shadow Fiend some extra space. Combos really nicely with the Lina, although not directly in lane. When you roam in a Spirit Breaker, you get that charge and Light Strike Array. It's very easy to get those burst kills once level 6 comes out for both the Barathrum and the Lina. Although that's not going to be until later down the line. Even cores like Gyrocopter and Windrunner can't feel 100% comfortable if they're pushing out alone.
10 seconds remaining.
As a whole, I quite like the lineup coming up. Earthshaker, you already have one of the best spells in the game to steal, at least in my opinion, for the Rubik to get his hands onto. It's that Fissure. An instant cast Fissure is an amazing thing to behold, and there's plenty of other things at his disposal, but maybe most importantly, it's an instant cast way to cancel out that Spirit Breaker's charge, which is always something you want to keep your eye out when you're going for these drafts against Spirit Breaker, and I think it's probably one of the best picks that Arcanys could have gone for. Rubik Gyrocopter can be left mostly as a or make stacks for the Gyrocopter, or apply pressure onto the Shadow Fiend in the mid lane. So let's go ahead and see how this game is going to pan out. First, by introducing our teams, we're going to start things off with a pause. No big surprises there, but Fury, we're going to be playing on the Spirit Breaker, Knight 7 on the Earthshaker, Slowbro on the Lina, Juka on the Shadow Fiend, and Eau Claire on the Queen of Pain. Gyrocopter is going to be played by Heinrich, Play Hard on the Clockwork, Arjun on the Rubik, Prince the Prola is going to be our stand-in on the Wind Ranger, and Nace Sydney on the Winter Wyvern. Never seen this Windrunner play, at least under this tag, but Southeast Asian teams are notorious for changing around their names, so yeah, who knows who that Windrunner actually is. Or maybe it's somebody entirely new. Well, this is going to be a pretty slow start to the game, but if we take a look at these two drafts, I think if Mahameru get an early start in their lanes and can pick up the aggression with the Spirit Breaker, get experience on their supports, I'd be tempted to favor their draft. But as far as reliability, I think Arcanys pretty much have that down. Their heroes, even from behind, can function and can pull off quite a lot. So I think that Arcanys maybe have a slightly better draft, but only because it is a little bit more reliable. We're going to start things off by going down to the bottom lane with Arcanys' lineup, and it looks like they want to secure this bottom bounty rune. If they could, ideally, they'd be able to deny one away from the Shadow Fiend, but the level 1 skirmish is very deadly from both sides. With a raw amount of lockdown coming up from Mahameru, featuring a Light Strike array, more than enough damage follow-up from the rest of her heroes, so this could get scary. More importantly, maybe, is the fact that they're going to be able to secure a nice ward down for this Clockwork, and at the very least, a decent laning stage. Gyrocopter and Rubik both spamming out their taunts, making quite a lot of noise here, and if they could get first blood, maybe that noise is warranted, but the Queen of Pain really isn't the easiest of heroes to lock down for their team. They have the telekinesis, but I don't think they can kill her outright in the duration of that lift, so Eau Claire should be able to blink out even if he gets caught here, but they will be able to place down that ward. I do believe that blocks out this small pole camp away from the Radiant side, and that's going to help out quite a bit. Queen of Pain playing very defensively inside the trees will eventually show her face, and I think she kind of knew what was going on to begin with. We'll see everybody down the bottom area, and we'll decide not to go for that bounty. Bounty trade for either side. Windranger and Shadow Fiend will pick those up, and I think this is going to be our mid matchup. So mid's going to start off on exactly the same foot. Two Poltangas, Salve, and Noltasm for the Windrunner, and Shadow Fiend, although he's going to be rushing a little bit faster towards that bottle, is going to have his bottle almost instantly. Still, it's going to be a bit of a struggle for Shadow Fiend to get these early souls. Just with the raw damage disadvantage that Windranger is going to be bringing to the table, and she also has quite a nice animation. As far as our other lanes are concerned, Spirit Breaker is going to be going off lane, but it looks like for now it's only going to be against the Gyrocopter because the two dire supports are roaming into mid lane. Arjun as well as Nay Sydney are going to bump into the Earthshaker here right inside the trees. They have a telekinesis, but actually getting this kill is almost impossible, and Arjun's actually going to walk through the mid lane, although he's under no real pressure of dying since it's not a level 3 on the Shadow Fiend, doesn't have the 2.7 raise yet. Still an awkward rotation coming out from him. Queen of Pain left 1v1 versus Clockwork is a great lane for the Queen of Pain. Might even be able to zone out the Clockwork outright. This is going to mean that Earthshaker and Lina are free to do exactly what they're doing now, and that's maybe set up some stacks inside the woods, or just make sure that Shadow Fiend has a good time. And now that Shadow Fiend's picked up those first couple of souls, the lane gets a lot easier. Although right now he is struggling a bit, I'd expect things to pick up for the Shadow Fiend sooner rather than later. Charge up towards top, they'll get the telekinesis onto the Spirit Breaker. Rock Brush damage is there, but Spirit Breaker runs towards Rubik, doesn't get the Lucky Bash, and this should be first blood for the dire side. Arcanys are going to draw it onto the Spirit Breaker, one more auto attack, and the Gyrocopter will snag a lot of extra gold for himself. This laning stage gets so much harder for the Spirit Breaker after that first death. Trying to get that lucky first blood onto the Rubik in turn, but not going to happen. 17% might have pulled through on another day, but today he's not so lucky. They're going to charge forward for the Gyrocopter. Fisher's there, charge forward, they get the stun, but unless they get the luckiest of bash luck, I don't think they're going to be able to find that kill, although they're still applying pressure. Rubik will secure a bounty rune up towards top, double damage picked up by the Clockwork, but I don't think these runes are going to be very consequential. The lanes will settle down a bit, even though the Clockwork isn't going to have a fun time against the Queen of Pain when it comes to farming. Double damage rune might pick up a few CS here. It's going to be tagged by a Light Strike array, and it's going to be put under a lot of pressure, but still will get his experience. And once level 6 comes out for this Clockwork, might be able to set up some kills around the map for the team. This early laning stage across the board is looking pretty good for Arcanys. Windrunner's doing well in mid. The Gyrocopter's having a free time and got first blood, and even the Clockwork is CSing better than the Shadow Fiend. I'm actually surprised that Shadow Fiend is struggling as much as he is, but once he gets level 3 raised, I think things should be a little bit better for Juke, because he'll be able to spam out the waves and at least get some farm through that method. But right now Windrunner is flexing her muscles, and it kind of requires that they have a support pod in the SF, or else he has to play very defensively. Lina and Earthshaker are in close proximity, but they don't have a smoke between them, so they're not going to be able to make any guaranteed rotations. Although the Earthshaker is just going to be sitting behind the SF, a lot of the camps have been blocked, including the large camp Not something we see a lot of teams do, but it is a way to slow down the Radiant SF's farm by quite a bit. Charged away by the Spirit Breaker. I'm not sure if that was entirely necessary, nor do I think this can get a kill easily. They're going to try for this Windrunner, but she has Windrun. She's under her tower. They'll follow up with the Fissure. They get a lucky bash. Raise 1, raise 2, not going to be thrown out. And the Windrunner will be able to turn for the Shackle. Although it doesn't latch and the Windrunner is going to survive, it's still an attempt, I suppose. Power shot thrown through. It's not going to be enough damage. Yeah, it was an awkward gank. It almost works out. They just needed a little bit more. If Shadowfiend had his 3rd point in raise, that could have worked out, but just such a hard hero to kill that Windrunner. Invis Rune going to be picked up top by said Windrunner. In her bottle currently, this is going to make it almost impossible for her to kill in the next upcoming minutes. Oh, Clockwork dropped very low, looking for the Roshan deny. Blink up to the high ground, is not going to be able to get the deny. Spirit Breaker secures it with the charge in. That's going to tie up the kill score 1-1. Both of these offlaners have given up a life apiece. But while all of that is happening, Queen of Pain isn't getting that much. It does draw a lot of heroes away from their respective lanes. In that sense, it's a little bit of space created by the Clockwork, but definitely still worth it for Mahameru. This laning stage is looking pretty even with a slight advantage for Arcanys and about 1,000 net worth going their favor above the enemy team. They're going to place a sentry trying to de-ward out this large camp, but it's still not spawned, and it won't be for at least 7:30, I think, is when the first spawn is going to be available, but maybe it's going to be blocked further than that. That's usually when Shadowfiend can pick up a little bit. Invis Rune in the mid lane, trying to save out this Windrunner. The Fissure's going to be off the mark, and she will survive, albeit barely. Well, let's wait and see. Clockwork is getting closer and closer to that level 6, and he has gone for a maxed battery assault build. Very good at killing off the likes of Lina and Earthshaker this game. And I think Arcanys are primed for a very, very scary mid game. That is if they don't lose play hard too many times here. The Cogs are going to completely zone out the Lina, but blink forward by the Queen of Pain, but it's right into a lot of battery assault damage. Oh, Claire needs to be careful. The Clockwork trying to secure this kill will be screamed and turned around with the right clicks. Should be lethal. Queen of Pain will secure it with the poison tick damage coming out from her dagger. And although that was a little bit scary for Clockwork, just shy of the damage to be able to follow that one through. Winter Wyvern deep behind enemy lines again. Although she's not going to refresh that ward blocking the camp, she's going to place one that's going to spot out Shadowfiend as he goes to farm and rotate through the jungle. This is going to be scary for him, as with the long range jump that they have, they can very easily punish this SF when he tries to farm. And right now the Shadowfiend is having a pretty poor time. He has his bottle on the courier with a full wand, but that's about it. The Shadowfiend is getting doubled up in last hits by the Windrunner, and even though Shadowfiend has been involved in a kill, that's not enough to get him into a comfortable position.
Radiant's bottom tower is
Gyrocopter's been left completely alone, already has the Helm of the Dominator up and running, and is starting to stack up some Ancients for himself. Already a triple stack. This is not something that the Radiant team can contest it very easily. Their heroes aren't that great at farming those Ancients, and right now I'm not sure if they even know that that's up and running. It's a lot of gold for the Gyrocopter. Clockwork down in bottom lane is going to be killed again. Winter Wyvern TPs, but a little too late. So at least this Queen of Pain and Lina are having a good time. Mid lane charging forward. Windrunner has already used her 1-1 raise. 1 is going to connect. Raise 2 is going to miss. And with a shackle, maybe they can get her out to safety. No, she's completely walled up. And the Windrunner is going to die to the Shadowfiend, even with a couple of uphill misses. 4-1 Mahameru getting good rotations onto this mid lane. That's what they need if they want to keep this Shadowfiend relevant in the game. Well, after a couple of kills, this game is pretty much completely even when it comes to the farm across the board, and it's really going to be up to the Spirit Breaker and Clockwork to make those moves across the map, and the Clockwork is about to get his level 6. That's really going to be a crucial timing window for the side of Arcanys to set up some kills and drop Mahameru back down. There's going to be a shackle latch in mid, although it's a very low level shackle, so that's not going to be able to set anything up. Level 1 shackle, even when it does connect, is a pretty middling skill.
Tower is under attack.
Queen of Pain rotating top lane has the Sonic Wave, as well as 3 points up in the Scream available. With the charge in from Spirit Breaker, maybe they can get this kill, but Gyrocopter knows exactly what's happening. Albeit only with Brown Boots. He's going to turn, trying to get the call down off, but can't quite do it. Orb of Venom chasing forward. Spirit Breaker doesn't get the appropriate bashes, and Gyrocopter's going to be able to TP out to the mid lane. Maybe they can get a kill onto the Shadowfiend with this movement, but at the very least it denies a lot of space away from the Gyrocopter. Gyrocopter's going to move over towards his Ancients. It takes a million years to farm these stacks with so very little damage, and probably 3, maybe even 4 flat cannons are going to be necessary to completely mop this up, but it's still worth it for the Gyro since it is so much gold, more than 1,000. Mid lane, they're going to hookshot in onto the Shadow Fiend, bounce back by the Cogs, they'll kill him off first, although taking tower shots, the Windrunner will die in trade. A 1-for-1 now, Queen of Pain chases for more, the Rubik's there, and with Lina cutting him off, from the right-hand side, that's going to be favorable for Mahameru. Still, this Gyrocopter farms away. He's not going to have another flat cannon for a long time, and all that's left is 4 big Black Spike. Hopefully that's not going to be too terrible, but up in the top rune area, Playhard's going to be caught out by the Queen of Pain. She has Sonic Wave mana and is going to commit it. Playhard is going to die one way or another. Do they have anybody close to deny? No, and Earthshaker's even going to secure it with a long-range fissure. Now, a little bit less than halfway towards his Blink Dagger. Night Sven is going to be a pretty happy shaker, or just Arcane Boots. That's fair enough too. Really a crucial item to pick up on your shakers early enough. The Gyrocopter, although he's getting a lot of farm, won't be able to transition that into items to fight immediately, since he has gone for more farming-oriented build. He has Phase Boots, Helm of the Dominator, Quelling Blade, Aquila. These are all fine and good, but for the most part, his only contribution inside the team fight is going to be Call Down, since his Rocket Barrage is still very low level. I think this is a fine way to play it, but it might hurt Arcanys in these next upcoming fights. Rubik's One gets some space up in the top lane, just now ticking level 6. As already mentioned inside the draft, there is a lot of good spells for him to get his hands on this game. Even if he dies now, it's probably worth it for Arjun to get so much space and so much experience. Hookshot is off cooldown again, so maybe that's going to be the next move for Arcanys to make, but it kind of feels like Mahameru, the team in the driver's seat. It's going to be about a minute until they have Sonic Wave back up and running, but all of their heroes are pretty much ready to fight now. Looks like we have some sort of issue with Arcanys' internet, but the good to go has been called. So hopefully that doesn't pop up anymore. As soon as this mechanism comes out for the Shadow Fiend, I'd expect Mahameru to start looking to group up and look for kills, maybe similar to what we're seeing up in the top lane. If Rubik sticks around solo, this could be very difficult for him to deal with. He's being charged now, but under his tower, I think the Rubik should be fine. He's sitting in an angle at which it's very hard for the Spirit Breaker to actually get a connection with that charge. Might just be telekinesed out. Since no kills have happened for quite some time, Arcanys are going to be very happy with the current state of the game, just power farming it up with their Gyrocopter, with their Windrunner. Although the Shadow Fiend is going to start picking up quite a lot of momentum. Oop, and down the bottom lane, hookshot in. Lina's caught out. Slowbro should end up dying here, but can they get the return trade? 1 raise, 2 raise will connect. 3rd raise not going to be thrown out in time. Queen of Pain will secure it. Now Fisher, Winter Wyvern is going to die too. That's an offlaner of support for just the support trade. Arcanys are going to lose that fight down in bottom lane. They're leaking quite a few heroes. This is going to buy Shadow Fiend his completed mechanism, flying out to him on the courier. Although he doesn't have a lot of mana to speak of, we'll have enough to use the mechanism for this push. And maybe that'll secure a tier 1 tower for them, as Arcanys aren't really in a great position to defend this. 1 raise, 2 raise, the creep wave is already down, and with the catapult and 2 range creeps, this is going to be taken just by the Shadow Fiend himself. Winter Wyvern's going to TP to the tier 2, they'll TP in the Clockwork, but without a hookshot, it's a lot harder to stop this outright. Lina going to get a kill in mid, they'll Fisher down the Windrunner, and it seems that Mahameru are outmaneuvering Arcanys when it comes to the support rotations in particular, and a lot of that comes down to the picks. Rubik and Winter Wyvern aren't necessarily the greatest roaming heroes, and can't set up kills as easily as the Lina Shaker. Smoking up the Lina Shaker are going to look for a wraparound onto this Gyrocopter, charging forward. Heinrich is a fairly low HP target, but the Spirit Breaker can't do this by himself. With a call down available, Gyrocopter could very easily turn this around if they don't bring in one of their larger cores, be it the Shadow Fiend or the Queen of Pain. Winter Wyvern's going to bump the SF. They'll pump fake the 2nd raise, but Winter Wyvern hasn't fully committed, so he can't actually get that full combo off. Things have slowed, and even though there's been a lot of aggression, especially from the Mahameru side, there hasn't been a lot of tower pushing. Mid lane, they're going to jump forward, they get the Shackle Latch on the Shadow Fiend, lift up to follow up, that's going to be killing the SF, but a blink in, no, the mechanism will save his life, at least for now. Winter's Curse will be his undoing, as Queen of Pain kills her friendly ally. They'll chase forward with the charge, with the scream, that's going to be another kill and it's going to be on the Winter Wyvern. The slow under the Windrunner is going to drop her low. They have a Lena stun. We'll commit that over the Clockwork. Double kill for the Queen of Pain as she finishes off the Rubik. Play Hard is going to look for the Battery Assault. Ticks onto the Spirit Breaker. 2 kills going the way of Arcanys, and they're not done yet. Triple kill for Eau Claire. She'll mop up that last kill on the backlines as Gyrocopter is left completely alone, but he'll still survive. An absolute mess in the mid lane. 3 for 4 is the end trade, and it's going to favor Mahameru when it comes to the raw output of numbers, and it's going to throw that Queen of Pain very close to her Orchid Malevolence. Just about 800 gold till she has that all the way done. But on the flip side of the coin, Gyrocopter has an Ogre Club, Yasha, Helm, Phase Boots, Aquila, a very farmed Gyrocopter, which could run away with this game, even though he hasn't been very active yet. Pinks in the mid lane. Arcanys are not without their own tools to fight. They find themselves with a little bit of a window where Sonic Wave is down, but by the time they have Hookshot up, that's not going to be super relevant. 14-6. It's not one-sided at all, however, even though the kill score might suggest that. We're almost zeroed out in net worth, and experience is only slightly in the favor of Mahameru. And this is mostly down to Gyrocopter's farming pattern. If you take a look at his last hits, he's doing very well for himself. In fact, almost at the same amount of farm as Shadowfiend and Queen of Pain combined when it comes to last hits. Very fast farming coming out from him, but oop, up in top lane. Lena's going to be hunting for a stun, trying to catch us with this gyro. They have a fissure, they have a charge to follow up. Heinrich might be in a little bit of trouble, but with Rubik behind him, especially with the stolen fissure, it's going to be very hard for them to rotate into that. And now Playhard's here, trying to find a hookshot angle, although I don't think there is one to be had. It's too deep for them to go for that, and Gyrocopter's just going to TP back to the mid lane and look to farm his Ancient Stack again. This time it's a lot more modest in Ancient Stack, but it's still gold that he can bank on, and now with the items that he has, his damage is a lot more impressive. He can do them quite quickly and very reliably too. Top lane, Nether Strike is going to be cancelled out by the Stolen Fissure coming up from Rubik. Playhard going to be able to run away from the Spirit Breaker at least, but maybe not the Queen of Pain. Battery Assault's going to put a lot of damage in. Hookshot point blank range. O'Cloak can't get off the Sonic Wave, and that's going to be a kill for Arcanys. Witcher's Curse onto the Spirit Breaker. Follow up Shackle is going to latch into his friendly Earthshaker. A lot of trouble for the Mahameru's side as until Shadowfiend comes in. He has the mechanism, he has the Requiem. He is going to throw out that Requiem of Souls, kills off the Clockwork, third raise to kill off the Winter Wyvern, double kill for him, and now with the Dragon Slave from long range, they'll get a third and a fourth kill now as a short raise will secure the triple. They lose their Queen of Pain, but they get everything in return, and now we have a disconnect from the Winter Wyvern. Mahameru are taking these fights much better in general. Although they're able to kill off that Queen of Pain, it costs Arcanys pretty much everything, and Gyrocopter was not involved in any way, shape, or form inside that top fight. Imagine how impactful a call down or just a rocket barrage damage would be inside those engagements, but Gyrocopter had no TP, and that's something that Mahameru could have checked. Even not having TP and even without being involved in that fight, Gyrocopter has the full SNY, so in the future engagements, I'd expect that not to be the case. After that fight, looks like tier 1 for tier 1 trade is going to be the order of business, despite Mahameru pushing much faster than Gyrocopter alone. The tier 1 tower at mid is already pretty darn low. Now, excuse me while I take a drink. We have a pause, so might as well abuse this time to the best of my ability. Things are looking good for Mahameru, but if they let things sit and let this Gyrocopter go completely unpunished, things could be pretty sketchy for them in the next couple of minutes of this game. Shadowfiend, he has his power chest mechanism, and although this is okay farm for 15 minutes of the game, his yes leaves a little bit to be desired, and the actual stacks inside the woods are non-existent because Arcanys have been very good at playing the passive farming game. And it's only a matter of time before this Gyrocopter really gets involved. Mahameru should be happy with their position in this game, but they can't be complacent. They need to make sure that they keep up this aggression, keep up the fights, and make sure they don't go for aggressive dives. If they go into a tier 2 tower push and Gyrocopter gets a good call down, that fight could be all but over. It's actually incredible how fast this Gyrocopter is firing. If you take a look at his level, he's the highest level in the game. Over a mid Shadowfiend, which is not something that you see very often. That's a little bit awkward. We're going to be waiting until Arcanys can get all of their players inside this game, but we should be resuming shortly. I think the state of the game is pretty obvious to most everybody, but Yeah, I wonder what's wrong. Let's take a quick look at the word vision coming out from either side. The Radiant have decent coverage. Nothing too stellar though, nothing aggressive, and although they'll have okay vision for farming on their side of the map, it's not going to be the best. I'd like to see them catch some vision out inside the enemy woods, maybe find the gyrocopter as he's farming out inside his ancients. They have a little bit of vision here around the corner, so maybe they'll catch him out whenever he's rotating into those ancients, but it would be really nice to have like this cliff ward especially, and maybe that could also help them secure Roshan. They don't have the best Roshan team, but they do have the presence of Dark Lord at one point, and if they find a good fight, their team is very good at capitalizing on it after the fact. Well, Winter Wyvern's going to disconnect again. Seems that there's a lot of issues for now, and this game has been paused for more than 2 minutes. Not ideal, especially when solo casting. Winter Wyvern is going to reconnect, and hopefully this time around with no major Dota issues, or at least I can cross my fingers. I don't think Mahameru can actually go for the tier 2 tower after this fight up in top lane. Everybody should be back up and ready to contest, and although that was a great fight for them, it was a 4v5. The gyrocopter wasn't involved. So back into the driver's seat. Tier 1 tower is going to be dropping very low in top lane and in mid lane both. Let's see who's going to be able to stop that quick enough. They're going to charge back, trying to kill off this gyrocopter. At the very least, stop him from pushing. He's going to feel a bit antsy. He saw the Spirit Breaker charging away, so it looks like this is just going to be a straight up tower victory for Mahameru. Or maybe not. Little Wolf is going to pull off the creep aggro, and in general just be very annoying for them. They're going to get cold feet, and both the tier 1 tower in mid and top lane are going to survive, although the tier 1 in top should be denied out by play hard. The catapults hit it once, and there you go, smacked down by the clockwork. Arcanys get a pretty nice victory after the fight, I'd say, since that tier 1 tower in mid isn't in deny range. Arcanys probably should group up and look for a fight on their own terms now. They have a centaur up for the gyrocopter to farm up his ancients or stack up the ancients even further, but I think they're strong enough at this point to group up and look for a fight. Despite losing a lot of engagements, those haven't been involving the gyrocopter. Heinrich is only 2-0-1. Mostly that's just when the enemy team brings the fight to him. He's been very good at avoiding these engagements, but I think farming time pretty much stops now when you have the phase S and Y. Winter is going to go back to farming in mid, but since they're this spread out, this could go very poorly for Arcanys if Mahameru get a good jump with the Spirit Breaker. And right now Mahameru know mostly where everybody is on the side of Arcanys. They'll be able to spot out where the clockwork is away from the rest of the team, but here you go. Heinrich has said enough's enough. We're going to go for mid. They have a clockwork initiation. If they could bring the clockwork in, that is. He hasn't TP'd back, and this could be a 4v5 if clockwork's not fast. He's got to TP to this tier 1 tower. This is very scary, and let's see if he's going to actually pull the trigger. Fisher's going to be thrown the sidelines, but it's instantly stolen out by the Rubik. That's a good trade for Arcanys now, and I'm not sure if Mahameru really want to fight into Rubik's Fissure. They have a Queen of Pain Sonic Wave. Lena's there, and Gyrocopter's a very, very tasty bait, but nobody's actually bitten yet. Mahameru are going to wait until this pushes into their tower, but they have perfect vision of the Shadow Fiend with the flare. He's going to look for the raises onto the creep wave, or at least he should. Raise one. Hookshot's going to be completely whiffed, absorbed by the creep wave. And with that, they can jump in. The Spirit Breaker charges the backlines. Fisher's going to catch out the Spirit Breaker himself. Lift it up, can't get off the Nether Struck, but a beautiful Sonic Wave over 3 is going to do a lot of damage to the side of Arcanys. They're going to lose their Spirit Breaker, and with the Cold Embrace, keep the Clockwork alive. That's going to set up for 2 raises. The Requiem is going to be cancelled by the Winter's Curse. The follow-up damage isn't quite there on Juka. They'll shackle him down and burn him down with the Rocket Barrage. Heinrich is completely isolated from the rest of his team, will end up dying in trades. Look at the sidelines. Eau Claire's going to kill them off. Echo Slam onto the Rubik, trying to save Night Sven's life, and it will succeed in doing that. Power Shot, attempted, not going to kill off Night Sven, trying to TP away. He's going to succeed. Arjun has telekinesis, but doesn't have the vision required to stop that. Denial of the tower coming out from the Lina. A good trade from Mahameru across the board since they kill off that Gyrocopter that's been farming so much in this game. That's a lot of gold, especially for the Queen of Pain. Having just picked up the Orchid a little while ago, previous to the pause, is now up to 1700 gold, and it looks like she's going to be working towards that Aghanim Scepter. Walking over to the side shop will pick up her point booster, and this Queen of Pain is starting to pick up a lot of momentum. Gyrocopter, even though he is 1,000 gold higher than the next highest net worth, it doesn't feel like it really.
Radiant's top
He
tower
hasn't been
is
able
under
to
attack.
join in these fights super convincingly and just be a god. He's done okay, but has been playing very passively as a general rule. Eau Claire deep on enemy lines. The Queen Pain has the Invis rune and might be able to look for a courier snipe. Not sure exactly what the plan is here. If she goes in, there is always the risk of getting caught out by the clockwork, or Rubik might be sitting behind that target. And I think for the most part, this is just a vision mission coming out from Eau Claire. 4-staff up for the Lina, really big pickup for these supports. I talked about it inside the draft that the Lina and the Earthshaker really do need a force between them to stop the Clockwork's initiation. So this is going to make it a lot harder for Clock to actually find the jumps. Although, bottom tries for it onto the Earthshaker after a gold blast from the Winter Wyvern and the Flare. He dropped low, but they won't be able to secure that kill. And now, things look really good for Mahameru. They have a blink on the Earthshaker too that's currently in a stash. Fisher will land onto Playhard. The Cauldron is there. Will clip on the Night's Vent as well as on the Lina. Fisher forward by the Rubik will kill off the Shaker, but since Baker already bought his blink, that's not a huge kill in and of itself, but then get the Spirit Breaker, that's really nice for the team. Shackle to retreat, Spirit Breaker's in a lot of trouble. Rocket Barrage does a whole truck ton of damage, and Power Shot will secure that kill. Down towards the south, Sonic Wave will connect to the Rubik, one raise, and that's going to be the death of him. 2 for 1 is the trade now, as Windrunner is going to chase forward a little bit, but not actually find another Shackle. After this small bout of pickoffs, Arcanys are going to feel comfortable enough to stick around and look for a tier 2 tower, but this could be very bad for them. 17 seconds and Echo Sun will be off cooldown. Earthshaker will respawn with a TP at the ready and a blink that could completely catch them off guard if they're not careful. Earthshaker is going to start walking down to the bottom lane, just making sure that he's there if needed, and it looks like Arcanys have recognized that they've probably overstayed their welcome a little bit, are going to back off, and Gyrocopter is going to go back to what he does best. He's going to go ahead and farm. Up to a lot of gold on the Gyro. If he picks up something like a BKB, I don't really see Mahameru being able to fight into him. Their physical damage at the moment is okay, with the Shadow Fiend and Queen of Pain and the Sonic Wave to go through that magic community. But a lot of the damage that they've been relying on in this fight, or in these fights, has been magic nuke damage. And Heinrich could completely go out of control if they're not careful. And at a certain point, he's just going to be able to straight up buy that BKB. Smoke is on the Rubik. They might be able to go for an aggressive move themselves, but I think that's exactly what Mahameru should look to do, since they have this blink on Earthshaker that I don't think has been detected by Arcanys. Maybe they spot him out down bottom with that Observer Ward, but it looks like the answer is no. Gyrocopter's walking around the corner. If Heinrich shows himself to this creep wave, it could all be over for the Gyrocopter. He's going to farm the small camp, but Earthshaker has the blink. Echo going to commit it straight on Heinrich. Follow up from the Queen of Pain. They have a Sonic Wave. They don't even need it, or actually, they don't have a Sonic Wave. They have a Lacuna Blade. Excuse me. That's what I meant. And, well, they'll throw out the Lacuna. Get that kill. Very straightforward for them. The best kill that they could have hoped for. A lot of gold for their team. 726 for one pickoff is nothing to shake a stick at. And now it's Mahameru's turn to put some pressure, but in mid lane, Winter Wyvern's there, has a Windrunner. They isolate the Shadow Fiend, but with the mechanism, it's pretty darn tanky. Winter's Curse is going to lock him into place. The Queen of Pain is going to turn on her ally. We'll get out from the Queen of Pain onto the Clockwork. Will be enough to get that kill. Now chasing forward, Blink Screen. They catch out the Windrunner, looking for some bashes. They bash up the dog, but not going to get any on heroes yet. Light Shark Array will connect. Arjun will be blown up by the Sonic Wave, and even force out a buyback from the Gyrocopter. Gyrocopter wants to get back in here, but he can find an opening. That's a huge victory for Mahameru. Despite losing their Shadow Fiend, Gyrocopter's Eye of Aggression is now completely down the tubes. That costs him more than 1,000 gold after the death and the buyback. 770 from the buyback, and then from the previous death is now down to only a Mithril Hammer after once pooling 2,700. Queen of Pain's deep behind enemy lines again. Eau Claire finding these Invis runes time and time again. Might find a very easy kill on the Winter Wyvern here. Winter Wyvern's going to look for stacking, completely isolated away from the rest of the team. And the Gyrocopter's farming Ancient. Split forward, Orchid, Scream, and this should just be a very easy solo kill. There's nobody else to help. Although the Clockwork's there with a hookshot, he lands it into the creep wave. They said he barely surviving, but one more Scream will do him in. Blink out by the Queen of Pain. Over towards the left. The Queen of Pain will buy some extra space. And without the Clockwork's flare, I don't think they can do this. Windrunner did go for the Aghanim Scepter, so it doesn't have a blink or anything of the sorts to try and chase that one through. So Eau Claire is getting completely out of control. 11 and 10 on this Queen of Pain. Almost has the full Aghanim Scepter herself on top of the Orchid. Queen of Pain is a snowballing hero, and she's doing just that this game. The Shadow Fiend is a little bit further behind where you'd like to have him. At this point, Shadow Fiend, in a good game, would be finishing up the complete BKB, but he's by no means doing poorly. Compared at face value to the Windrunner, is actually doing quite well. Oh, speaking of the devil, there's the full BKB. Never mind that, Shadow Fiend's doing just fine, but in mid lane, there's going to be a potential jump. They'll lift up the Lina, pull her back into the Clockwork. They have the cogs, but a Force Staff away. Lina's going to buy some extra space. Is it enough, however? Now with the Battery Assault, the Dragon Slave from the Rubik stolen from the Lina is going to be enough to get that kill, but now Playhard's there. Trying to catch out this Earthshaker. He's going to TP out. They have a hook shot, but not an angle for it. The Clockwork won't be able to cancel that TP, but now looking for the Shadow Fiend. They're going to catch out Juke. Juke is there with the BKB. Requiem Playhard's not in the corner that he wants to be, but that Requiem hardly does enough damage. And now Winter's Curse even canceling that TP out. Shadow Fiend in a lot of trouble. Here comes the Queen of Pain. They need to respect this Queen of Pain's damage output. Focus fire into the Shadow Fiend. It's going to drop him low, but not quite. Blink up by the Quap. Turn around for the raises. One raise is going to connect, but now Shadow Fiend's out inside a corner, completely walled up by the Fissure. But Arcanys need to back. You have the Wind Ranger inside the Cold Embrace. Will back up a nice amount of HP, and the Power Shot is going to fly forward. But this is a tense situation. Charge out by the Spirit Breaker, and that's all she wrote. 27-13. Mahameru still seeing an advantage when it comes to kills, but the net worth graph is a lot more interesting, as we've kind of seen even through these flatline pauses. The game's fairly close. Mahameru have about a 4,000 net worth advantage, but that's by no means the end-all be-all. Arcanys still have items that will allow them to fight. It gets a lot easier once Clockwork has the Force Staff. He can somewhat play around the Force Staff coming up from Lina if they mind game it a little bit, and Lina preemptively uses her Force Staff, catch her out in the cogs even after hookshot in. Now Arcanys finding a Roshan. This is a lot of gold in their favor, and once they have the BKB Aegis on the Gyrocopter, they can look to push. They'll have to respect the Ecosong coming out from the Earthshaker, but if they do that, this game could go either way. It's very, very close. That first usage of the BKB coming up from the Shadow Fiend left a lot to be desired, but it's only a matter of time until Arcanys push, and they might be able to get value out of that 9-second BKB again. Gyrocopter, after finishing up these two large ancients, should have enough gold for the BKB, or if not, very close to it. I underestimated the gold that was given from that large dragon, so he's not going to have it outright yet until he sells his Aquila. But there it is, flying out to himself. So this is the window for Arcanys to push into these tier 2 towers. They very easily can do it if they don't get caught out on the backlines. Knight Sven as well as O'Clair are grouped up. These two can kill pretty much any single hero that they catch out, even the Gyrocopter, and even through BKB if they get the Blink Echo before he's able to pop that. Double damage rune's going to spawn at the top of rune spot. I'm not sure if they're going to give this to Windrunner or the Gyrocopter. It looks like Windrunner is going to be the brand new owner of a fresh double damage rune. That's scary. With the Aghanim's Focus Fire, she's going to be able to pump out a lot inside this next fight. Clockwork is going to bump into the Queen of Pain as well as the Earthshaker, but it'll get away with a pat on the wrist and an Orchid to the face. Tier 2 tower on mid's going to be next objective for Arcanys, and Clockwork wants to be with the rest of his team as they go for this. Queen of Pain and Earthshaker, although they can apply some pressure to the wave, can't really threaten the towers at the same extent that Arcanys can with this double damage Windrunner. That's going to town on the tower. Focus Fire is going to be able to take this out. Even though there's a glyph, I don't think that's going to save it. At the best, they can hope to delay. And they'll just do that. The Sonic Wave is going to be thrown up. It's stolen by the Rubik. With that, any hopes of defending are completely down the tubes. Rubik with a very big amount of damage this upcoming fight. With a level 3 Sonic Wave, that's not a spell that you can reliably get your hands on. Queen of Pain usually is going to be using the Scream right after the fact, but a little bit greedy with their spell usage, and that's going to be Arcanys with another tool at their disposal. Look for the push. They didn't blow anything. 10-second BKB still on the Gyrocopter. They still have the second life. And Arcanys are starting to flip this game around. The advantage is still in Mahameru's favor when it comes to net worth and experience, but they're starting to get map control, which is something that's not really reflected by the two graphs. Top lane, they're going to get a charge onto the Clockwork. Play hard. Should be fine, however, they spot out the Rubik and the Winter Wyvern coming out from the sidelines, as well as Gyrocopter there is farming. So Mahameru aren't going to feel comfortable going for this initiation yet. They're going to want to wait until Mahameru get a little bit too overzealous. Maybe they'll try to jump on the Spirit Breaker, who might decide to bait here. I think the most he can do to bait is just show himself, and they're going to ping out the Spirit Breaker. Arcanys are here with full force. Maybe they're willing to bite, even though they probably know that this is some sort of bait. And it looks like Mahameru are scared of getting pulled into the river with the fish that they're going to catch. 2 minutes left on the Aegis of the Immortal. They've already gotten one tier 2 tower with it, and I think that Arcanys will be happy, even if they aren't able to pressure for another one. But at the same time, with a 10-second BKB on Gyrocopter, I think they're strong enough to do just that. So let's see if this top tier 2 is going to fall in their favor. Windrunner is going to get some much needed time to farm. She has a Blink Dagger up on her person, and the bottle is going to be flying out on the courier. Although she was lacking in earlier fights, this is a great way to start engagements with just a Blink Shackle. If you can catch that on 2 key heroes, falling up is so easy for Arcanys, with the Gyrocopter and Winter Wyvern especially. Everybody in Mahameru's side can defend at the tier 2, but if they get caught out now, that could be really bad. Clockwork is going to be bumping into the Queen of Pain shortly. Blink out towards the right-hand side. Eau Claire knows that there's not any vision close by, or at least he hopes there's not a vision ward up on this high ground since they have dewarded, so he should be safe to go for that move, not going to be caught out by the Clockwork, and now Arcanys are going to keep on going for that push. Tier 2 tower up in the top lane is going to be taking some heavy pressure. It looks like Mahameru aren't even interested in defending. They'll look for a trade for the tier 1 tower in mid, and I think that's fine. As far as tier 1 for tier 2 tower trades, this is probably one of the better ones for the Radiant side to take. The Dire tier 1 gives access to Roshan, access to their own woods, and while the tier 2 tower on top for Radiant really doesn't do much of anything when it comes to controlling the map any further. Maybe a little bit less control in their Ancients, but as I said earlier inside this game, Mahameru aren't very good at farming large stacks and aren't going to be interested in making them. That's it. Gyrocopter has gotten so much gold from his own Ancients that Mahameru really aren't able to contest, and from here on out, Gyrocopter is going to be picking up a really big item, whether that's a Butterfly, MKB, just something with a huge ticket for him, and that's scary. HC Immortal is going to be expiring in just a couple seconds, as we see here, so that's not going to be in the side of Arcanys, but they never had to use that BKB. 10 seconds still up on Heinrich. Game is really scary for both sides. The big difference is the gold that you're seeing on the supports, in particular on the Spirit Breaker now. He has almost a full BKB since he has been running with this Hand of Midas this entire game, and compared to the Clockwork, Spirit Breaker's income is going to be flowing a lot more freely. Shadow Fiend and Queen of Pain are going to feel comfortable enough to push for this tier 2 tower since they know that the Aegis is no longer there on the Gyrocopter. Arcanys are going to be a little bit more hesitant to contest that, and this might actually trade in their favor. The tier 2 top is already very, very low. Dire have a glyph. They are going to commit that now, and it looks like the Radiant team have backed up, but maybe they shouldn't have. The bottom lane is being pressured very heavily, and Arcanys didn't back anybody, but you have an Invis Eau Claire. Another Invis room for this Queen of Pain, at least a third this game. Sonic Wave right now, Heinrich, he can't even pop BKB, Blink and Echo, and the Gyrocopter is already dead. Rubik will die afterwards. The Shadow Fiend comes in with the mechanism, play hard trying for the TP out. Will it survive? Yes, the Clockwork will live, but over on the sidelines, Winter Wyvern, ooh, just as lucky, it's going to make it out with the Glimmer TP. Still a great fight from Mahameru. Being able to stop that Gyrocopter from getting off his Black King bar is absolutely crucial there. Still 10 seconds up for him. I guess that's a silver lining. He didn't use the charge, but it was such a bad fight because he couldn't. A lot of gold going to Mahameru way. 1250 the gold change thereabouts, and a lot lost on important targets. The Arcanys Gyrocopter's next item is going to be severely delayed. It looks like he does want to go for that Butterfly. Spirit Breaker has his Black King bar up and running, and Mahameru find themselves with a decent opening. That fight down in bottom lane is going to have big implications for the up-and-coming Roshan skirmish, which may or may not happen. It's going to allow Mahameru to more convincingly control this map. This is time where they can be getting some wards out for that next major objective, and it looks like Knight Sven is going to do just that. Again, these supports are getting a lot for the Mahameru's side. Lina, 4 staff working towards that Aghanim's only 1 component away. Less than 1,000 gold for herself. And Earthshaker has Blink Forest. When you look at the inventories coming up from Arcanys' supports, you do have a Glimmer Cape on the Winter Wyvern. That's really good for the Wyvern, and you're getting closer towards an Aghanim Scepter of the Rubik. But it's a full Blink or a full 4 staff behind what Mahameru's supports are sitting on. Things will slow down a bit. Arcanys are going to vie for control around that Roshan pit. Both of the teams have wards in almost the exact same spot, but Mahameru have a slight edge, and they might even know that that ward was placed down. Ancients are going to be farmed up by Arcanys and Heinrich in particular. But these engagements are going mighty well for the Mahameru's side, and it looks like they're grouping up for a smoke here. Do they have a smoke on any of their heroes? No. So they're just going to be securing Shadow Fiend as he goes about the map and farms it up. Shadow Fiend sitting on 5,500 gold, has himself a Demon Edge. Even though that butterfly is going to be coming out from the gyrocopter sooner rather than later, it's going to be met with a full MK on Shadow Fiend. Although he has the gold for it now, he's not really going to be interested in finishing that up until he has buyback, or he knows that he has an Aegis. Windrunner, smoked up, is going to be leading a charge. They have a blink initiation if they could find it on anybody, but it seems that Mahameru have smelt something up. And maybe they even smoked right in front of this ward, although I wasn't paying enough attention to actually see that. Mahameru dodged a pretty major bullet. Arcanys kind of needed those pickoffs for the next couple minutes of this game to feel entirely safe. Queen of Pain's going to be flying out her Lincoln Sphere, just shy of 100 gold till she has that completed up. Although personally I don't like Lincoln's that much here, it's still going to be a very nice way for her to keep herself safe from the Winter Wyvern and the Blink Shackle initiation especially. Nice for pushing high ground. In general, good item to have on your Queen of Pains. Although I personally would have liked something like a BKB of her own, or maybe each their own. And alright, now they're going to use this leap in power to start pushing down mid. Juka, although right now it's a little bit spread out from his team, has an entire team behind him. Hookshot in, but the charge from Spirit Breaker is already there. He's going to land with the charge, but bounce out outside of the cogs. Sonic Wave Laguna Blade will kill off the Windrunner. Juka's there trying to get off the Requiem, but force tapped out of the cogs is going to get that animation cancelled. Nicely played by the Clockwork. A pretty even trade up until this point. Hydro's going to pop the BKB, trying to chase forward. The Spirit Breaker's isolated away from the rest of the team. Cold Embrace will save Arjun for a little while longer, especially with that Glimmer Cape. The Rubik is going to get a little bit of space, but is it enough? Queen of Pain's there, wicked sick as she cleans up the Winter Wyvern kill. Clockwork Cogs are going to bounce back the barrels, and he has a charge. Will run right over those cogs that stopped him earlier. Double kill for the Queen of Pain. She'll mop up the other support. Now isolated with the battery assault ticking. Playhard is going to put a lot of damage back to the Queen of Pain. Can Eau Claire blink out? Fisher from long range, and the Clockwork looks like he's going to be dropping low. Eau Claire has the Sonic Wave. Does she want to commit it? Yes, she does. The Sonic Wave will barely miss, but a blink Scream is going to be enough to clip onto Playhard. Not enough damage though. That Stifling Dagger isn't actually enough damage. Did I say Stifling Dagger? It's actually Shadow Strike. We'll forget I said that. Regardless, a 1-for-3 trade. It starts out very evenly, but Queen of Pain, just with the raw amount of mobility, is able to mop up so many of those kills after the fact. Neither team are in a position where they can go for Roshan after all of that is done, but a lot of gold going to Mahameru's pockets, especially the Spirit Breaker, who just recently having picked up his BKB is now up to 1800 gold, comparing his net worth to that of the Wind Ranger, and they're pretty much neck and neck. This is an offlane Spirit Breaker compared to the mid of the enemy team. This Windrunner pick really isn't working out that well. Sentry Order will be dropped, trying to catch out that there's Earthshaker as he's walking around Invis, but it feels like Mahameru have had pretty much every Invis rune in the book. Either it's Eau Claire or Nightspen running around. That kind of goes to show just how much map control they've had and how much control over the runes. Smoke up coming out from Arcanys. This hasn't been spotted out, hasn't been scouted. This is a big time for Arcanys to make their move. They have the Agnum Scepter on the Rubik, but simultaneously, Axe is done on the Kalina. If Arcanys can get Roshan here, that's great and all, but Mahameru have all the tools at the ready to contest this, and I don't think this Roshan has fallen fast enough if Mahameru move now, and move is exactly what they're doing. They have a blink cooling down the Earthshaker in 3 seconds, so Roshan is about half health. This could go completely terribly for Arcanys if they get caught up by an Echo Slam. Currently, there's only 2 inside the pit. Hook shot forward, they're going to delay. Shadow Fiend's bounced back, but now charged forward. They're going to chase for Playhard as Roshan is going down. Sonic Wave from the sidelines. Queen Pain's on the high ground, right clicking down to Arjun. They'll try to look for the Winter's Curse, but the Winter Wyvern just can't do it. Echo Sun going to commit it. However, it only connects on the one. Since BKB was there from Heinrich, they'll drop the Requiem of Souls. I'm not sure if that really was that effective. Catches out the poor Windrunner, and with that MKB, Shadow Fiend's absolutely dishing. 3 heroes have hit the deck, chasing forward for more. They're not going to find the Gyrocopter. He was over in the sidelines. Now Queen of Pain blinks forward, looking for the Clockwork. Even if they didn't get any kills here, Mahameru have already won a great fight, and now are going to be able to secure Roshan for themselves. An absolute disaster for Arcanys. That kind of felt like a desperation move. Mahameru are just getting too much farm on too many of their heroes. Now with the Aegis of the Immortal on the Shadow Fiend, we saw how much damage he could do in the last fight. It's going to be getting even worse. What do Arcanys do at this point? That smoke into Roshan kind of felt like their last easy move to make. From here on out, it's going to rely a little bit on Mahameru overextending and getting caught out without their full 5-man lineup. And although Arcanys do have heroes to look for those pickoffs with the Blinking Windrunner, with the Clockwork, this is going to be a very difficult game for them. 3,000 gold already up in the Queen of Pain, having just recently picked up that Lincoln Sphere. And those pickoffs are not going to come easy. I think the best thing that they can hope for is kill off this Earthshaker before the fights. The Fissures and the Echo Slams have been so disruptive for Arcanys to deal with and really have stopped them from counteracting anything. Gyrocopter needs his next item. Although he is close, its impact is going to be severely mitigated by the Aghanim Scepter on Lina, which is going to drop him down so low already at the start of the fights. Lina's not level 16 yet, but she's getting there quickly. And then you have the MKB on the Shadow Fiend. Butterfly is not by any means going to be enough to keep him safe. Clockwork will pick up the Aghanim Scepter. Although these are the 3 items you'd like to see under Clockwork's Force Staff, Blade Mail, and Aghanims, I fear that it's not going to be enough for him to safely get off his initiations. Clockwork's time to shine is pretty much over here, 40 minutes in. Raise is going to be stolen. It looks like that's a medium raise by the Rubik. Tier 2 tower is already dead. And now Mahameru have all of the tools at their disposal to look for that high ground push, with the exception being Echo Slam, but that's going to cool down in just 2 seconds or so. Mahameru are going to look for the top push. The mid creep wave has already thinned out quite a lot, and they are going to have to deal with bottom lane that is pushing in heavily, but it's time to go. Gyrocopter's TPing back. Shadow Fiend will mop with the creep wave, and although most of the creeps have died, the siege creep is still standing strong, so this is going to be a lot of chip damage, or a little bit of chip damage on that tower, regardless of the counter push that Arcanys do have. Mahameru really commit nothing for that push, with the exception being an Urn Charge onto the Shadow Fiend. Now, round 2, looking for the Shackle, not going to catch out that SF. SF will keep on going, but here's no shut in by the Clockwork, but he's stunned on in. Echo Slam under the Gyrocopter. Heinrich's in a lot of trouble. The Queen of Pain goes down backlines, blows up the Rubik, and Sonic Waving clips on Heinrich. Heinrich is dropping so very low. Requiem will be around by Juke and Sloper, looking for the Laguna Blade, but can't find it. The damage coming out from that flat cannon is too much for the Lina. Charge forward, however, and Gyrocopter has bought back. This could go south for either team. Juke is going to run out. Clockwork has another hookshot cooling down, although he doesn't have a lot of HP to speak of. He's going to jam hookshot home onto Eclair, but dies to the MKB hits and the screen coming up from the Quap. And this little missile flying up from the Gyrocopter is going to be enough to catch out anybody. Rocket Rush damage into the Spear Breaker is pretty good, but if they lose their Gyrocopter, here could all be over. Heinrich is caught out, and Heinrich is down for 100 seconds. Another raise will connect into the Windrunner. She's going to be saved a little bit longer, but not long enough. Cold Embrace doesn't stop that pure damage from the Sonic Wave and the Scream of Pain. Double kill for the Shadow Fiend. No mop with that Winter Wyvern after that cheeky attempt trying to stop that push. And from here on out, looks like Mahameru at least get 2 sets of barracks and maybe even game. That last fight was well executed by them, but it's so hard for Arcanys to find initiations into the Ageless Immortal coming out from the S-Staff. And even though it was a little bit awkward for Leon trying to run through that flat cannon damage, trying to get the Laguna Blade kill onto the Gyro, it didn't really matter after all was said and done. Tier 3 tower is going to fall. Rubik's the only hero that's up, and it's still 10 seconds until the Clockwork's going to respawn. Mahameru, despite not farming as well and be doing as well in the lanes as Arcanys did, their mid-game team fights have been on point, and they've been doing very well from themselves. The advantage of the moment is pretty much not comebackable from. They're going to chase forward, charge over onto the Clockwork, and it should be a dead pull yard. Sonic Wave going to be committed. And the cooldowns on these ultimates coming out from these heroes is too low. It doesn't cost them much of anything. I'm tempted to say that Arcanys' lag did play a part inside this game, but that's mere speculation, and I think Mahameru played well enough to where that doesn't matter. Arcanys will wait for their Clockwork to reconnect, but at this point, they kind of need a Rapier on the Gyrocopter and a YOLO Smoke to pull this game back. And as far as the gold for Rapier is concerned, Gyrocopter really doesn't have much after being forced to buy back twice in the last couple of major fights. Tier 3 tower and mid's going to be falling, and they still have about a half a minute before Gyrocopter's even up and running. If there ever was a hero that can't come back from Mega Creeps, Gyrocopter's pretty high on that list, but he needs a little bit more gold before he can comfortably have enough for like Satanic and Rapier, and that's just too much to ask at this point. Melee Barracks is going to fall mid. Mahameru, after getting a large advantage, are going to feel very good about themselves. Satanic, speak of the double, that's finished up by the Shadow Fiend, so tanky in these up-and-coming fights. And Mahameru can just take this slow and steady, or they can smoke up. They have a Refresher Orb, for Pete's sake, on this Queen of Pain. So much damage. And if they smoke and catch out Arcanys off guard, this could just straight up be game. 42-15. An absolute bloodbath in favor of Mahameru, and here's that smoke I was talking about. They have a blink gecko at the ready. They're going to catch out too, and a big two it is. Gyrocopter and Windrunner are going to be dropped so very low. Laguna Blade into the Winter Wyvern, although it's not enough damage to the Stolen. Laguna Blade's going to hurt quite a lot with the Agate Scepter on the Rubik. It's only enough to get the Spirit Breaker kill. Their big cores are already down. Orchid on the Arjun. He'll chase forward, TPing away inside his own base. He'll die to the Magic Nuke damage, and with the buyback on Spirit Breaker, it looks like it's all but over. Mahameru will secure game number 1, and good game will be called by Nate Sydney. I have to hand it to him. Mahameru, I haven't seen them play very frequently, and when I did, they didn't look that great, but today they're going to pull through over Arcanys in game number 1. It's not over, a 2-game series. Let's see if Arcanys can pull things back into a 1-1 tie, and I definitely think they have it in them to do just that, but only time will tell. Thanks for watching here on Hefla TV 1. Shout out to Dota 2 Lounge for sponsoring this stream and putting these games up on their site. Go ahead and bet some rares and maybe even win some. And